We're out of the mines. We have the shakers at the ready. It is time for the salty takeaway here with the SDH. It is the post-game show, looking back at the season opener with Atlanta United and Orlando City. Guys, can we actually say Orlando City on this show, or do we have to refer to them as other things?
No, I think we're adults here, and I think we can. At least for me, I certainly don't mind calling them by their proper name. 2 years ago, I may have said something different, but these are a different set of cats that we're dealing with now.
Hey, I'm just glad to have competitive MLS action back, so we can say the word. It's not too dirty in our mouths tonight.
All right, so there you have heard the other parts of the equation alongside me, John. It's Nick and Jess talking about the first match of the season. And let me just get your overall overarching takeaways from the first 90 minutes of the year. Jess, ladies first.
Well, you know what? We kept a clean sheet. As a goalkeeper, that's always the number one thing I care about. There were a couple of rocky moments. We survived some hurdles. We probably should have been more clinical in front of goal, but key terms is it's work in progress, and we come away with a clean sheet and a point, and I'll take that away from home, John.
Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the key thing here is that it's a work in progress. And, you don't have Joseph Martinez starting for obvious reasons. Lisandro Lopez did the best he could. And there were some issues with me as far as that finishing wasn't quite there. It's going to come. You could see that it's going to come. But for me, the bright shining star in this right now is Sosa. His ability, the incisive passing, his ability to shield that back line, provide Brad Guzan with just that little bit of extra insurance, and his ability to drop into the back line fluidly, push back up and be almost like an Italian regista, where he's helping to be that deep lying playmaker. It's really fun to watch. And while we didn't get that goal that I think we desperately wanted, at the same time, I'm just absolutely thrilled that we have competitive action back and something to talk about.
All right, so Nick, here's the numbers on our Tiger Beat centerfold, Santiago Sosa. 90 minutes, 56 of 62 passing, 7 of 10 on long balls, 3 tackles, and 2 interceptions. Is he your man of the match?
I would say so. I would say he's my man of the match, and I think he's going to be the most important person for Atlanta United while we try to figure out the attacking end of the program, and while we get sort of the system really locked into place, his ability to assist that back line is going to be mission critical. Jess, you can speak to this better than anyone. The ability for a keeper to have that extra trust and faith that it's not just the back line coming to help, but you have elements from the midfield coming in to help shepherd the ball away and start a quick counter.
Yeah, 100%. And I think with the adjustments that Atlanta United is trying to make this season with the goalkeeper and the role that Guzan has now as almost an 11th field player, he's not just a sweeper keeper. He's not just a keeper that you're using in the build-up. He's truly having to use his feet that much more. You want a player that you trust to be able to find in the middle and have good distribution and good vision. And it's early days, but the caliber of player that he is right now, and a young player, it's very exciting to see the role that he's going to have this season. And for me, in the last 3 games, he's been a standout player, and that consistency is what, to me, stands out the most, that he's played 3 matches and consistently been top of the pick for me.
Now, Jess, we've been talking, offline, and we always consistently come to you as our member of GK Union here. What we're going to be seeing from Brad Guzan is going to be different from what we've seen from him in the past. He's got to be aggressive. He's got to go and make sure that, he is higher in his engagement. He's higher up the field in his engagement. He has to be assured of himself in moments. What did you think about him today? And especially there was one key moment where, once again, you're looking at a ball, it changes direction, it's a big save, but once again, you talk about the clean sheet and all of these new aspects with Brad. What have you seen so far?
Look, I think he did really well. It was a tough one. He's coming out of Guzan has played so many matches and he's consistently been getting 90 minutes under his belt all the time. To him to have such a rocky start with the red card and only get 40 minutes or so, then have to sit out and watch, it's really tough to come in, particularly when you're trying to build into this new style. I thought he had a good starting position. He was more confident. He was more aggressive. And we look at that save, and I'm not going to lie, it was squeaky bum time when we saw that one coming through. And what he did well was he managed to deflect it up, but then smother it to an extent and get it away from frame. And then Georgie Bello was there and at the time I thought he got a touch, and obviously I've watched it back, and it was just about closing down the angles, but it was a team clean sheet. And I think we're going to see a lot of that this season defensively. It's not just about the goalkeeper. It's not just about the back line. It's about all 11 players on the pitch. And when you have that as a goalkeeper in front of you, when you know that everyone understands that they have a role defensively, whether it be, closing down early for the forwards or making smart moves defensively in the back line, it helps you as a goalkeeper realize that, it's not just going to fall all the way back on you.
All right, Nick, let's talk backline for a little bit. And it right now seems to be the rock of what we've seen in the first 3 competitive matches. Once again, the starting 11 comes out left to right. It's Bello, it's Anton, it's Miles, and it's Brooks Lennon. Once again, solid performance from the back 4.
Yeah, and to me, the most impressive person today was George Bello. His ability to keep up the transition with speed. That was the key thing for me. I think it's going to be a key thing for the team going forward. And when you have a weapon like George Bello in the back who can make diagonal runs, be a part of the attack, drop back, defend, and neutralize the other team's speediest player, I think to me that is just something that is absolutely amazing to see. And to watch his growth and development in general has just been something that's been exciting to watch. The back line itself, I really can't say anything bad about Miles Robinson. I thought there were, a few moments where the back line probably could have handled things a bit better. They put Brad in some positions that I, as a lover of fine defense, didn't feel too good about. But at the same time, we're talking about the opener. You're opening away, even though it was a half a stadium. You're opening away in Orlando. That is not an easy out, and not just that. These are not the same. I'm trying to watch my words here. The same goofball cats that we're used to dealing with. This isn't the clown show, Orlando City, that would discombobulate at the slightest bit of trouble. These guys they're competent. They have athletic ability. They have people who are very technical. And as a back line, if you have speed, athleticism, and technical ability that you're going against, and they're competent, that's tough to deal with. So I feel really good about where the defense is right now. New system. They're looking very solid. Athletically, we're there. I think that there's some things that we can clean up that's going to be handled on the training pitch. But all in all, I'm in a very positive space. Their transition from moving from a 4 to a 3, no challenges there. It was really, really fun to watch, and I'm excited for what this season's going to hold.
Jess, let's talk about Anton Walkes for a second. And it's another instance where Anton shows that he has grown as a player and he belongs, and he's going to make it difficult for anyone to bump him out of that back line with performances that we continue to see, like we saw against Orlando.
100%. And he's always been a good player. Don't get me wrong. I've always liked Walkes with his first stint with us when he was playing abroad. But now he's playing with a different level of maturity. And sometimes it's hard to believe he's in his early 20s because he plays with such maturity. And when you look at our back line, we're full of youth, but it's incredible the maturity they play with, the way they read the ball, the leadership they show. And again, it's so important to have that organization at back, particularly when you're trying to adjust to a new style, but they're playing with confidence. They're protecting Guzan in his new role. And like I say, I felt going into it, I was nervous, and I spoke with Jason earlier this week on our show, and we talked about how it was really important we didn't make any defensive errors, that we were smart about it. We saw the underhit pass by Barco that caused the red card for Guzan, and we wanted to make sure things were crisper. And today, things were crisper. Today, yes, there were a couple of moments, as Nick mentioned, that probably needed cleaning up, but there was nothing that jeopardized the team as significantly as that one. And I would have been very happy if I was the goalkeeper with those players in front of me today.
Nick, let's get into go ahead, Nick.
Well, one more thing about Anton Walkes. From where he was, I think Jesse made a great point. From where he was at the beginning when he was with us in 2017 to where he is now, his growth as a player, his timing on stepping in on contested balls and grabbing that second opportunity, where he is now to where he was then, and his timing in doing it, I can't help but be impressed with where he is. And I just, you can see him physically growing as well as he gets older. Before, he was, a little bit leaner, but now he's putting on a little bit of muscle mass, and he's going to be a problem for forwards to deal with. Even when Franco comes in and they get that ironed out, he's going to be somebody that is going to be in your Swiss Army knife, so to say, your toolbox, that if you need that physical body to put back there, who's not going to get you in trouble, who's not going to get you in card trouble early, God, you have to feel really good about that, right?
And that depth is what's exciting.
Absolutely.
We've had worries before when Robinson was out and in the past with injuries and things like that. But right now you've got 3 players with Franco coming back in that, it's going to cause problems. It's going to cause competition. And we like to see that. I mentioned that today with Guzan and the performance he had. And I said, I think he looked sharper than we've seen potentially last season as well. And sometimes that happens when you have players bearing down behind you, when you watch other people have strong performances, when your spot isn't necessarily guaranteed. So competition within a squad is a very good thing. And at centre back too, that's a great issue to have.
Well, and considering that we have all of the issues that you're going to be facing here in the 2021 season, you've got schedule compression, you have multiple competitions, you have international play. All of these different things are going to be adding up at various points. And Nick, to the point here on the floor, you're going to need this depth. Having all of this depth and competition is, last time I checked, never a bad thing to have.
No, it's never a bad thing to have. And that's one of the issues that you have with the salary cap league. It's one thing if you're in La Liga, Serie A, Premier League, and you have a ton of depth. Fantastic. Great. You have an unlimited budget. Of course you can go do that. If you have the money in the bank, you can sign the players. But in a salary cap league, that's where you see the difference between the okay teams, the good teams, and then finally those transcendent and great teams is the depth. The players that can come in when there's an injury or you need to actually sit one of your players because they've been accruing a lot of minutes, and you have a fantastic option on the bench, 2 fantastic options. Great. But when you're talking about Atlanta United and having maybe like 3-4 different options that you can go to at a couple different positions, that is where you have the ability to go from good to great. And you have the ability to recreate something like you had in 2018. And that's a credit to the front office. And I know that I'll get hit up and say, oh, Nick's, a sunshine pumper and whatever. But really go across MLS and hit up these rosters and see what other teams have the kind of depth that we have. When we talk about LAFC is a Ferrari at the starting lineup, at least they were. And then when they started getting some injuries and some minutes, then all of a sudden it wasn't quite the same. So I feel very good about where we are from the depth perspective. And, when I salute everything that Adam John brought last year, the physical hold up play, I get it. I love it. He was fantastic on social media, interacting with the fans. I feel a lot better with Sandro Lopez up top. I mean, his ability, those moments were there. Machop Choi, that his ability to come in and be another physical presence.
Damn, I wanted him to get on the end of that cross.
Oh,
when
my
it was
God.
So close, but it will come. It will come. And what an exciting player he is. And it's so cool to have this homegrown player as well. Someone that played in Tucker he played for DDY, I believe. And how awesome is that you have the variety of these players that you're getting from South America, these young players, but you're also bringing in your own with Georgie Bello and Machop. It's an exciting time for Atlanta United and the academy and the twos. And John, you get the delight to be around the twos as well. Mm-hmm. It's so exciting to watch this transition of players that Atlanta United is able to combine, spending the big money and bringing in these players, but also growing their own.
All right. So,
and that's a key. That's a key for a budget, from a budget standpoint. We have to talk about, it's one thing to talk X's and O's and XGs and everything else, but we have to talk about the business aspect of MLS. And it's especially in this market, this environment where when you discover that a lot of your favorite teams out there in Europe probably run with a tighter margins than you may have expected, those academy kids coming through, and you have the ability to develop them and either move them on or insert them into your starting lineup and save yourself some cash in the long run, man, that is unbelievably valuable. And for any team out there that has that, it's a luxury. It is a luxury to have it, and it's a fantastic option from a business perspective.
All right, guys, let's talk about the attack for a little bit. And as we get closer toward the end of the show, we did have some folks chime in on Twitter with some of their thoughts, and we'll get into that toward the end here, and we'll kind of make that our tradition here on Salty Takeaway every time out. But Jess, let's get into the attack. I know that, once again, you come up with a goose egg on the board. You had chances, you had opportunities, but let's just take the attack on the whole and kind of break it down a little bit. Your overarching thought about the attack today against Orlando City.
Not bad. Not bad. We talk about creating chances is always a positive thing, but when they're not going to be so abundant as we'd like them to be, you have to be more clinical when chances do afford to you. I think back to a couple of moments, and there were a few times where an opportunity wasn't quite created because we just took too many touches within the box. Sometimes you just have to take a rip. I think one of our best opportunities was the shot from distance. I can't remember who took it, but it was a decent save. And then we had a couple, the matchup on the back post. But if you're not going to get too many chances, you've got to finish and bury those opportunities that you do get. So early days, not too concerned, but you'd like to hope that next time round we're a bit more clinical in front of net, because you can't win games if you don't score goals.
Nick, you mentioned Lisandro Lopez earlier here in the takeaway, and I know that once again having a veteran presence up top because of all of the variables that lay into this season, I know it's going to be big. But your overarching thoughts about the attack today?
I tell you, my favorite moment, and this is there will be a lot of people who may cringe when I say it, when Joseph Martinez was taken down, was my favorite moment of the attack. And I know that people are gonna be like, huh? Because for me, it was when you get an injury, half of it's physical, half of it's psychological coming back. And when he got knocked down and he got back up and he had that moment where it was like, okay, everything's still working. I'm still good to go. Okay, let's get back involved again. That is only going to increase his confidence exponentially. And we've seen time and time again when players have been injured, and a player featured in this game, Alexander Pato, who was with AC Milan for a long time, when they get injured and they don't have that confidence building moment, to me, this is more valuable than him coming in and scoring a goal right away, because those Orlando defenders were all over him. Anytime he touched the ball, they were beating on the back of his legs. They were beating on his lower back. And you could see that they were trying to get in his head. And when he finally was taken down and got back up, it looked like he was a little bit more confident in the process. I want to see how he does with more corners. I want to see how he does with jumping, cutting, changing directions right there in front of goal with a lot of bodies around him. But for me, that's the best moment of the attack, because it allows him to kind of say, all right, I can get back in this and be competitive.
Now, I know that, Jess, a lot of folks on social media were saying that Marcelino Moreno had a quiet day. You got to see the speed on display at times with Mulroney working his way down the right, Jurgen Damm substituting in later. And I think that a lot of folks, when they look at this offense and they look at what it can be, even if Brooks Lennon is coming from the back and working his way and on cutting runs and diagonals, which created an opportunity early in the match as well. I think that once again, you've got to be prepared to see Atlanta United coming from every possible angle. George Bello had a chance that was just wide of the post at one point. And it's the speed that I think can be a distinct advantage for Atlanta United. But once again, you've mentioned early days, and I think that's what we experienced here again today.
Yeah, and I mean, what a great situation Atlanta United has, that you can start someone like Mulroney, who has speed. He can tire out defenders when he gets the opportunity to run at them. But then you're going to sub in Jurgen Damm, who probably has more speed. So the ability that they have to tire out these defenders, attack them when they're getting fatigued later on the game, could be exciting. But we're just not quite on the same page yet, whether it's a heavy touch here or just taking too many touches or not being on the same wavelength. There are a few moments that come across as, frustrating for a fan to watch. But I think that you fast forward 3-4 matches. Remember, these players haven't had that many competitive minutes together at all to get used to each other. Once they start to gel together, once they start to be finding the weight of the pass and finding the same runs, I think Atlanta United has a lot of dangerous attacks. And like you say, John, players that from defensive positions too like to bomb forward. And that, as a defender, makes it very difficult when you've got those overloads coming at you.
Now, you guys already got into, and I know that Nick, I'm going to go to you first here to button up a point, and then we can get into this point as well. But I know you guys have already mentioned Machop Chol. And seeing the confidence that Gabriel Heinze has in younger players, we know that if you show up in practice and you show him what he's looking for, you're going to get minutes. And Machop Chol had that one opportunity that you guys discussed earlier on in the show. But I think that as players like Machop continue to get adjusted to what's going on here in Major League Soccer, Nick, he's a unique matchup problem for a lot of teams in MLS, and it's in Gabriel Heinze's 18 where Machop Chol resides.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that you hear most often from fans of teams abroad is, oh, play the kids. You know, a good manager will play the kids. And that's one of the things that we all love the most about Ajax, right? And that's one of the things that made them so different. In Barcelona with La Masia, when you had kids who would come up and develop within your system, come out and be competitive from the jump, and a manager who had the courage to play them. To me, that is, it says a lot about Gabriel Heinze, where he says, yeah, you show up on training days, you play with heart, desire, intensity, and you keep a level head. I'm going to put you in a game. I'm not going to have a concrete roster where we just, you know, throw people out and it's the same lineup over and over and over again. You know, so it's something where, you know, when we consider that, and again with Atlanta United, their ability to have players who can, you know, come and slot in, provide you depth, provide you from a situation where you have players who are not as expensive, that means something. And it says something from the manager as well, where the whole team can buy in because everybody has a shot. And when Jess said earlier, competition is a great thing for a squad, to be third on the roster to start with. And then know, hey, look, man, if I put together a couple of good training sessions, this guy has faith in me. A team can build around that, and that just will propel you later in the season. When you have those injuries, when you have those minute limitations, and the manager calls your number, you know that it's not like, oh, God, I got no one else on the roster to go to. This is my final shot. No. The manager believes in me and knows I can get the job done. That means the world to these kids. So I think it's a fantastic thing, and that's it really showcases what we talked about Atlanta United being in the very beginning. When we talk about the academy, when you're a kid going up and you're signing up with the RDS schools around town, you know that this is a team that will promote from within. They will build up academy kids. They will sign you from colleges if you are a kid who has, you know, been anywhere near their system, and they will plug you right in. And it helps buy in totality, not just from a roster standpoint, but from a fan base as well.
All right, Jess, let me run through some of the numbers here when it comes to the stats of the match and see if anything sticks out. But there is a question that I want to wrap it around with. Possession numbers, Atlanta was at 60-40. Atlanta had 60% of the possession. Both teams 11 shots, both 3 on goal. Passing accuracy for Atlanta, 88%. Passing accuracy for Orlando at 82.2. And this is where I want to get into really quick here. With the defense that we're seeing from Gabriel Heinze, you saw moments of that pressure that I'm sure that he's looking for from his team to when they lose possession. You sit there and you count 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, try to get it back. And if you don't, then you press and try to get it back that much more. But once again, I think that a passing accuracy level of 82%, I think shows what Atlanta United's chasing after defensively, although there were times where I think that you would have liked to have seen them close ranks and pursue Orlando as they were on offense and transitions, especially in the middle third.
Yeah, I think they'd have liked to have seen a lower passing accuracy where they'd been able to disrupt a little bit more, because when you're having a team at an accuracy similar to your own, it probably means that you're making it a little bit too easy for them when they do have possession. But then you've got to look at the possession numbers, and Atlanta United had far more time on the ball anyway. But when you read those stats, John, the one that is a little concerning to me is that out of, I believe, 11 shots, you said only 3 on frame.
Yep.
And that's what we talk about when we say about clinical and we say about utilizing your opportunities. If you've created 11 chances and you've only put 3 on frame, either you're not doing well enough in front of goal and not being clinical enough, or you're not really creating good enough opportunities and you're just hitting and hoping, and that's why they're off frame. So that's definitely something that I would like to see Atlanta United improve on.
All right, Nick, what about you from an improvement standpoint? I know that we're 3 matches in, 1 match in the MLS season here in 2021, but what else are you looking for where if you were giving that conduct grade from the teacher that we got in elementary school, it wouldn't be an S, it would be an N, needs improvement?
Needs improvements in the attacking third. I just think that it's going to come, but from what I saw, I saw a little bit of hit and hope. But I also saw moments where a player was just a step or two away. And Machop Chol's a prime example of that, just a little bit of a mishit and it's going sideways. But in my opinion, if I have to give a needs improvement, that's where it's going to be. But all in all, I think it's a satisfactory performance from the team. The midfield, when you contrast what you saw in this game with what you saw with Minnesota in the first half, where it looked like it was just, we are going to press for the sake of pressing, we are going to run for the sake of running, and then they ran themselves out of the game. It wasn't like that at all with Atlanta. There was a plan. You could tell that it was the part and parcel of the system, that when we press, there's a purpose to pressing. And then when there's, when we need to drop back, we will drop back. Now, do I think that there were some elements of Orlando's game that really helped us out? Yes. I was kind of shocked that Orlando dropped back and stayed back as far as they did at times. I was just like, that makes no sense to me. But at the same time, Atlanta, if you have that opportunity to put shots on goal, you got to put them in the back of the net. And if that's, we got, I think, lucky on a couple of points. I think Pato held the ball a little bit longer than he should have. And there were a couple of moments where I think if Pato had been a little bit more decisive and he had been more the early 2000s Pato, maybe we're looking and having a different conversation. But that wasn't the case, right? So we only have to work with the information that we have at hand, which was, midfield did their job, defense did their job, attacking bit needs to start tightening things up, and I think those opportunities will come.
All right, let's wrap up with what some of the folks gave us on the Twitters here. And Jess, we'll start with you with Katie Weaver. Katie says, Sosa and Lennon standouts for me so far. Need more Barco and some threat in the box.
I mean, I agree with the standouts. Barco, yeah, quieter than we'd like to have. But you know what? He becomes a target player for defenders. They know how to try and quieten him up. But I would definitely say that more presence in the box, more clinical in front of goal, more attacking prowess, because who knows how many teams are going to give us 11 opportunities. And so if you're going to have less opportunities, you've got to take opportunities more.
Michael Head says, kiss that sister. Daniel Price says, it's a point. Feel like we were seconds away from scoring. Overall hopeful and ready for more. Nick, GTUTD, says, love the way Atlanta United played today. Attack when needed, possess when needed, created some good looks, smart, entertaining soccer, and can see it coming together. Anytime you get a point on the road, you take it.
Yeah, you got a point in a hostile environment, especially, and keep this in mind. Think of the opportunities that any of these teams have had. These road teams in week 1 have had to be in front of any sort of hostile crowd at all, whether it's 10 people, 20 people, much less like 5 to 10,000. And so there's a lot of emotions that you are going to be juggling when you enter that situation. So to settle those emotions down, to come in, compete, you walk out with a point. Again, we've killed the fact that the attacking third needs to tighten up. I will push back on a little bit of DeBarco from the standpoint of when he needed to press, the motor was going 100 miles an hour. And I felt very good about that. And again, if we can win the ball up high, we can turn around. You're talking, instead of a 15, 20-second build-up, now you're talking about sub 8-second attempt to put a shot on goal. As someone who is a big fan of Ralph Rangnick, I love those sub 8-second turnarounds when you can put a shot on goal. So I thought Barco did really well from that standpoint. I do want to see a little bit more, cleanliness out of him on distribution. I do want to see a little bit more cleanliness out of him when he has those attacking opportunities. But I mean, it's week 1. I'm completely okay with Barco's performance, and I love the fact that the motor's going full speed, and that I didn't see what some of the people would say is, who are not versed in the dark arts, what they call petulance, what I call trying to buy a call.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, he's going to do that, but I think that he's starting to figure out more as he grows older. Okay, here's when I need to do it. Here's when I just need to get back up and get involved. So from that standpoint, I am impressed with his growth.
Last one on the board just goes to you from Jake Michaels. I feel like that's a game where if Frank DeBoer was still the coach, fans wouldn't be happy. Struggled to create many shots on goal despite lots of possession, a point you've addressed. Still desperately missing a strong number 9.
I mean, we're going to get into these coaching things. I think that people need to be patient and not compare apples with oranges. Number 9, I think we got to give players a chance, and we got to give players a chance to get back to full fitness, back to linking up with each other. I think we're being a little overcritical early on, and I'm not someone that's a total optimist. I agree that there are things to work on, and I've been critical in this pod, but
right.
let's hold our horses, give it a couple more matches, and then we can start pointing fingers if we need to.
If I can on that, because
go for it.
The thing with Frank is that when you come from the Van Hal system, there's a lot of mechanization that comes with the Van Hal system, and Frank, there were I think at times was a little too mechanical, but from a philosophical standpoint, it's not apples and oranges. You're talking about players who, you may be a 9, now you're working midfield. You may be an outside back, you're making an incisive run, opposite angle from where you were before, working left to right. We're going to see some things that will look very similar. Shockingly, you will see some things that are unbelievably different. But at this point, after a CONCACAF Champions League game, a couple of in-house games we didn't see, and now this, I think if you are an Atlanta United fan, you have to feel very good about where we are. New coach, new system, new players, gelling, it seems like very quickly. I see a lot of positivity from Heinze on the sideline, a lot of encouragement. To me, that's important. It says a lot about team chemistry and where you are when you see where the manager is and you see how the players are reacting to that. But I agree with Jess. I think it's when we start comparing coaches this early, I think it can be a little bit dangerous. So I would just caution folks from diving too headlong into such activities.
And that is the first round of the Salty Takeaways here on SDH. For Jessica Charman, for Nick Alifi, I am John Nelson. We will catch up with you next week after the home opener when Chicago comes to town. For Jess and Nick, I'm John. Play it safe, everybody. Enjoy the games.